Hey everyone, Kyle Mike here from MLive.com. Joined by Justin Rogers. Day 3 is in the books. The draft is in the books. Justin, lots and lots of man hours and blood, sweat, tears, pizza grease went into this one for us. 7 rounds are over. Lions have a new draft class. What is your big takeaway?
I think they added a lot of immediate contributors instead of, some of the typical potential guys that you add in the third day. I thought the move up to get Wright was aggressive. They gave up a third rounder next year, but I like the fit. What I always was expecting for this team to do was add a bigger, long-armed penetrator, and that's what they got in Wright. Wasn't one of the guys we were naming all along, but fits in that same mold. The fullback move was a weird one. I mean, I don't think either one of us saw it. We both identified Jalston Fowler as the top guy in the class. He went 4th round. I mean, so he was off the board. But you get a guy that's a special teams contributor all the way around, immediate role as a fullback. Diggs is a cornerback that has immediate role as a nickel and special teams guy, and then your potential guy as a backup is Robinson way down in the 7th round.
Yeah, I see. Coming into this draft, I talked to Mike Mayock, and he had said that the thing that impresses him about Mayhew is that he seems comfortable as a trader. Never really feels compelled to do it, but when he sees an opportunity to move up or down and to help the club, he can do it. And At one point in this draft, I have no idea how many trades ended up in the draft, but at one point there was 15 trades in the draft, and the Lions were involved in 3 of them. So they were extremely active, and something Mayhew had pointed out was when they trade, they're going for a position of need. They're plugging a position of need with a player they really like. It's not necessarily the top player on their board. And I think that's part of the reason why you do see them plugging so many holes, specifically with players. You mentioned Gabe Wright from today, the defensive tackle from Auburn. Some technical difficulties, if you will, as a senior, but junior, great year, good athlete. And I think the Lions think that he'll plug an immediate need for them. I like that pick a lot for them. I like the Diggs pick from 6th round. I think he gives them even more versatility in the back end. There's more competition now. I think it gives you an insurance policy in case Nevin Lawson doesn't return to 100%, or Bill Bentley. Both those guys suffered major injuries. Bentley's had a few in his career, and Lawson's dislocated foot was a peculiar injury. So he's an insurance policy for those guys in the interior. If you look at film from this guy, he plays bigger than what he is. I don't have the measurables in front of me, but he hits hard. Obviously, the size will always be a concern in coverage, but I think he's a good find in the 6th round, 200th overall pick. I looked up a stat. The last 6 players drafted 200th overall combined for 1 game played. So you're not really at that spot. You're not that deep in the draft. If you get any kind of contributor, whether it's special teams or depth or whatever, it's a win. And I think that could turn out to be a good pick.
We talked to him today, and I mean, from the start, he just came across as defiantly competitive, even in the conference call, which is a weird time to be that way. But, former Detroit Lions reporter Anwar Richardson's now down in Texas covering the Longhorns, and immediately kind of lit up his Twitter feed with praise for the Diggs pick. Thinks very highly of him, watching him in college. Obviously, the competition level is going to be a big jump for him, but as you mentioned, I mean, Bentley, Lawson coming off major injuries. The Lions were left, holding nothing after week 2 at the nickelback position and really forced to scramble. So they got 2 guys in here to play cornerback. One's a clear nickel. One they think is versatile enough to maybe do that role in a pinch, to kind of give themselves some more depth in that spot so they don't get in that situation again.
Danny Gore. Remember that name?
Yeah.
He actually played for the Lions last year because those 2 guys went down, Bentley and Lawson, and then Cassius Vaughn went down as well. So they were on their 4th nickel at one point.
He left here and got some starts for the Ravens too.
Michael Burton, you had mentioned him before, the 5th rounder. He's a fullback from Rutgers. That is the one pick, in my mind, the one pick that I really question in this draft. I feel like him playing fullback, he probably would have been there in the 6th round. But they trust their board. They go with him. We'll see how it plays out. We'll judge him on it once he's played and see how he factors in. But that's what intrigues me is they obviously have a vision for this offense, and he factors in somewhere. He's a fullback. He's a blocker. So obviously there's going to be more power running sets. And I asked Martin Mayhew about that. He deferred to Jim Caldwell and the staff, who we obviously didn't get to talk to after that. But I think it's pretty apparent with the way this draft played out that the Lions came in. They wanted to beef up the running attack. They do have Calvin. They do have Matthew Stafford. But that hasn't been enough for them to be consistently productive offensively. And I think Jim Caldwell, if you read the tea leaves, he really does want to beef up that running game. Got Lakin Tomlinson in the first round. Like that pick a lot for the running game. Big road grading run blocker. Got Amir Abdullah to complement Joyce Bell in the second round, and then you pick up the fullback in the fifth. Again, I think you could have gotten the fullback later, but they do have him, and their designs are apparent. They want to run the football and probably in a power running scheme.
Agreed. And if you look at what Jed Collins did in this offense last year, he probably played about 15, 20 snaps a game, was instrumental on special teams. Burton as a fifth-round selection is expected to fill that role. There will be competition in camp, but he is the leader in the clubhouse. He'll get every chance to make it. And if you can get a fifth-round pick that contributes that much, I think that's a win. We don't like maybe we're not in love with the position value at that point, but when you look at it in the terms of getting a contributor, I think it's not a bad pick. As you mentioned, he might have been there at 6. He might have been. But if they liked him that much and you can get him at that spot, and you end up still with a guy like Diggs in the 6th round, then, I guess who cares in the long run?
Yeah, they might have had a sense of urgency with him, too, with the other fullback already gone, Alston. So the one guy, the one guy we haven't talked about yet is Corey Robinson, the team's 7th-round pick. 7th round, it's always kind of a crapshoot. Lions got Willie Young a few years ago as a contributor, but typically your 7th rounder typically doesn't do very much. And so what he does, I think, for the Lions, the Lions came in, there's so much talk about Riley Reif and the tackle situation, if Reif was going to move or if there was going to be some kind of new alignment. And after all of that talk, we leave the draft the same way we entered it, which is with Riley Reif at the left tackle, Legion Waddle at the right tackle. You asked Martin Mayhew about him. Sounds like he's still a ways away on the ACL, but I still think he's penciled in as the right tackle at some point whenever he's healthy. The real competition at that spot now is going to be between Robinson, Michael Williams, and Cornelius Lucas for probably 2 outside reserve spots. That's really the only drama I see at this point at tackle.
Yeah, and I think Lucas probably has the edge there, being a guy that played as much as he did last year. The coaches really liked him. Lions really like drafting or signing late those really big offensive tackles that maybe didn't hit their ceiling, but they have the measurables. Robinson's monstrous. And here's the funny thing, is he used to be 350 pounds. He's down to 318, I think he told us. He's on that Fairley diet, if you know what I'm talking about. But really,
he's not on the MLive diet. I know that.
We are in miserable shape after this draft. But you're talking almost 36-inch long arms, 318-pound frame. He's a massive guy to get around. Could really be a monster in the run game. Apparently, the weight he lost, the fullback gained. People don't realize, but that the fullback Burton finished his college career at about 230. It's up to 250 now. So you're looking at those numbers out there and his weight. Feel a lot better. 5'11", 250 can make an impact on some of those run blocks.
Going back to Robinson real quick, you had mentioned the weight. Another interesting fact that you had found in the press room was his Wonderlic score, 40. That's like scoring like a 36 on your ACT pretty much.
Yeah, it's 32. Yeah, I mean it's pretty high.
It's crazy high, and I'd asked him about it on the call, and he basically said his agent did a nice job prepping him with some tips or whatever to ace it. But it's interesting just the intelligence you see with some of these guys throughout the draft class. And it's something that we've hit on so much this week, Justin. But Robinson with the 40, Wonderlic. Diggs called himself the smartest defensive back in the class, or the most intelligent. You've got Lakin Tomlinson, who is 4-time all-academic ACC, doing a crazy double major at Duke. Amir Abdullah, another real smart dude from Nebraska, and then you got the Stanford Alex Carter kid. Stanford's a pretty okay school.
We'll look back at this. It's the draft of character and intelligence. I mean, that's what it is. Does that translate to football?
Yeah, that of course. At the end of the day, they still need to play it on the field between the white lines, but the way they're trying to construct the locker room is pretty apparent, even going back to last year and to some extent the year before. Lots of smart guys, lots of family-type guys, good locker room character. You've seen it in the free agent signings. It's something we've talked about a lot, but it's interesting to see that common thread. Something that hit me today, too, was that when you think about the kinds of guys they're bringing in, these high-intelligence guys and these high-character guys, I think there's a greater potential for the club wanting to keep these guys around, not only through their first contracts, but you start thinking about the second contracts too. It obviously depends on how they play, but if you have a guy like Fairley who does play well but doesn't fit in to the culture for whatever reason, there's more likelihood he's going to be gone. So when you bring in guys like this, I think the team feels that you increase the likelihood that they'll they'll play it through a second contract.
Yeah, and Mayhew said he wants to keep guys around for his career. I mean, that's their goal, but I don't know, turnover with coaching staffs and front offices. I mean, it's I guess a little too forward thinking for me. Football, it's all about the now. What does next year hold? Because roster's going to turn over 20-30% every year. So good character guys fans will like and appreciate as representatives of their organization.
Yeah.
But sometimes you wonder, they don't care if they get arrested if they win football games. So
we've talked twice now to Lakin Tomlinson. I think fans are going to love him.
Yep.
Once you get to know him, you see him talk. You see him. He's got a great smile. He's up there, all teeth. It's one of those teethy smiles, and real smart guy. Loves football. He's real interesting. I mean, he wants to be a neurologist when he's done playing. It's a different kind of cat that has that kind of mentality. I think fans will like him once they get to know him.
Yeah, maybe Corey Robinson should be the doctor with that 40 wonder look.
That's what we got. We're gonna go take a nap or something. Thanks for sticking on M Live. It's been a long 3 days, but lots of content there, and there'll be more to come throughout the next few days as we recap what happened and the state of the Lions going forward. For Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We are M Live. Keep it right here.